Technological advances in UAS and advanced aircraft technologies, including Ohio's FlyOhio Initiative. Through his leadership, Fred has coordinated several activities with local, state, and federal resources with supporting advanced aviation technologies. Fred is a standing member in several committees, including Access Ohio 2045, the Ohio DOT Statewide Planning and Research Review Committee, Ohio Federal Research Network's Technical Advisory Committee, and the Government Advocacy Subcommittee for the Ohio Aerospace and Aviation Technology Committee, OAATC. And he continues to participate as an expert in UAS, UTM, and UAM technologies for the local and the federal levels. So with that, it is my pleasure to introduce to the stage Mr. Fred Judson.
Good afternoon. So I promised I wasn't going to make the joke about being the after lunch speaker and everybody falling asleep, but then I saw the lasagna. So let's see if I can go the right way. There we go. So I am the director for the Ohio UAS Center, and we are tasked with the new aviation technologies, whether they're automated or autonomous. So basically, we have three major groups that that for use cases that we funnel things into, and we break it down to passenger, cargo, and data. And your small data collection drones were the 2015 to 2016, where you start having the rise of the small and last mile package delivery efforts. Then just recently into the new vertical landing takeoff aircraft, particularly electrified vertical landing takeoff aircraft. Pushes, and this is where the key technologies that we're trying to enable as the Department of Transportation to facilitate this the new advances in aviation technologies. But again, I said a little, probably going to overlap a little bit with the panel when I was on the first session, but really it is coming down to the Department of Transportation and Infrastructure and promoting that vision that we have of highways in the sky. Again, it mimics our ground transportation system, but we really see the ground transportation system being basically in parallel with that lower altitude airspace in particular, and looking at infrastructure technologies like the new vertipad concepts, or they're just kind of like helipads, and then the remote tower concepts that we want to scale up to be more capable for the new autonomous aircraft technologies. Now, the UAS Center is part of the Ohio Department of Transportation, and under that, we're a part of the DriveOhio Initiative, which makes it really interesting because we are one of the few entities in the U.S. that is concentrating on both air and ground at the same time. So I'm the air side, and then I've got a whole other ground side that deals with autonomy. But I think because of the audience I'm speaking to, everybody might vote that the air side's a lot more fun than the ground side, maybe. But today I definitely want to talk about the FlyOhio Initiative, and under the executive order that was signed that created DriveOhio, there was a section in there about creating FlyOhio 2. What FlyOhio is focused on is making sure that we have the assets available for this new technology, and then all the key players, all the key entities in the state are aligned, and we have one consistent message moving forward. In particular, like the construction of vertipads, the I-71 corridor, the remote tower concepts, and just for some of the members, of course, we've got our governor's office that supports us greatly, and we're very happy with that. We've got the Ohio Department of Transportation, DriveOhio, JobsOhio, the Ohio Federal Research Network, the Dayton Development Coalition, and then I apologize, where's Tom Franzen? I did not put the city of Springfield on there. I told him I would, and I forgot. But does everybody recognize this picture? I think most people in the audience should. Does everybody remember where this was taken at? It was Kitty Hawk, North Carolina. Is there anybody from North Carolina here? Oh, one? Just one. So if I talk trash, are you going to call me out? So it was taken in Kitty Hawk, North Carolina, and wouldn't have happened without Dayton, Ohio, but that was 1903. But so, to my North Carolina colleagues, I always have to throw this up. That being said, I have to put a shout out to my North Carolina counterparts. I work most closely with North Carolina in all of our efforts, whether that's unmanned aircraft traffic management, urban air mobility, or regional air mobility. So I do have to compliment the state of North Carolina, even though we have this little bit of competition going on. So, does anybody recognize this? This is the Kettering Bug, first flight in 1918. First unmanned aircraft to actually enter into the national, well, it wasn't national airspace at that time, but first unmanned aircraft to actually operate in the air. So in my further discussions with North Carolina, they argued back, well, that wasn't a drone because by definition, a drone has to be radio controlled. And I said, well, why would you need radio control if our first drone flew completely autonomously? And it did. It had gyroscopes. It was self-leveling. It calculated how far it would fly and when to drop its package based on number of prop turns and wind speed and wind direction and that kind of stuff. That being said, it did drop a package. Was a torpedo, but it was a form of the first package delivery with an unmanned aircraft as well. But after that initial flight that the Wright brothers made, we had all these entrepreneurs then that came out and they said, we need to crack this code too. We know it's possible. How do we do that? So there's all these different efforts that were going on and people trying to crack the same code that the Wright brothers had. And they were really trying to get into the air. And one of the prime examples I want to throw out there is that up in the top left, in the middle, the top left middle, is the first envisioning of delivering U.S. mail by an unmanned aircraft. And that was actually called rocket mail. The thing is about most of these, they were largely unsuccessful. They really didn't fly, even though they were trying. But unlike today, now with the inexpensive technologies, all the inexpensive materials, all the different control systems that are available, these are today's entrepreneurs. The difference between today's entrepreneurs and the old entrepreneurs of the previous generation, these guys are a lot more successful. And that's whether you're going to make a flying bathtub or a flying Santa sleigh or a flying hammock. These guys are successful is the key, and they're doing it in a shoestring budget and posting them on YouTube. So anybody who wants to see these on YouTube, you can do a search and you can pull them up. But I do want to underscore some of the things that are out there, and the reason why, as the Department of Transportation, I'm going to try to turn the sound off. Hey George, is there a way to turn sound on? So that's the flying bathtub that was in the previous. Yeah, and then this is the same airframe type, but just a little bit more advanced. And this is a real aircraft as well. But again, you can see when you start looking at the kind of entrepreneurship and where it would lead you if you continued your flying bathtub and put a Bob Sled with a couple of rotors and flight controllers and batteries, where this kind of gets you. Now, this isn't really our passenger delivery service. More of it's a form of aerial sports car, but you can see that the technology's here and it's continuing. Honestly, I don't know about me getting into aircraft like that guy was flying and doing flips and stuff. I don't think I would be able to survive. Not because I would crash, more than likely I'd have a heart attack. But that's the kind of stuff that's out there. So just bringing everybody up to speed about Ohio's vision and the Ohio FlyOhio Initiative and some of our deployment strategy that we have out there. And I have to thank Tim Sweeney from JobsOhio for this slide. I stole it from you. It looks good though. Thank you. we're forming that strategic plan for the state of Ohio and how Ohio is going to deal with the new advances in aviation and how we're going to promote that research and development and maintain Ohio's lead in the United States for aviation technologies. I've already talked a little bit about our unmanned aircraft traffic management system along the 33 Smart Mobility Corridor being led by the Ohio State University and Jim Gregory, who you heard from just before lunch. That is a prime example not just of how we manage our lower altitude airspace, but also how that lower altitude airspace works in conjunction with our connected ground vehicle infrastructure and how those aircraft can support our autonomous ground vehicles as well. The next two is regional air mobility and urban air mobility, and then there's always discussion in like when I was on the first panel, it's how do you define regional and urban, because once you could be regional and then you enter in an urban area and then it's urban air. Whatever it is, it's the two efforts that we have moving forward is that build out of the I-71 corridor and connecting our three major cities and using that as acting as a blueprint to continue development for the whole state, connecting all the rest of our urban centers. And then the third one in the middle there on your right is our remote tower concept, where we start out in Springfield Airport, leveraging our existing SkyVision asset and then extending the FAA's original vision of a remote tower and expanding that into also managing the vertiports themselves, as well as the other advanced autonomous aircraft technologies. And then last but not least, again, we've talked about SkyVision already, but our SkyVision asset sits there at Springfield Airport, provides deconfliction services for aircrafts of all sizes, and is there as an asset for anybody that wants to do R&D work in the state of Ohio. Just to give everybody, and I know this is a little bit busy, but the key takeaways, unmanned aircraft traffic management. We're hoping to have statewide deployment for unmanned aircraft traffic management by 2022. For urban air mobility, we're hoping to enable limited operations along that I-71 corridor for urban and regional air mobility by 2021, with full operations by 2023. And then by 2022, we're hoping to be designated as one of those remote tower locations at the Springfield-Beckley Municipal Airport, with expanded operations by 2023. And just a little bit more about our unmanned aircraft traffic management project. We're proud of this project. We currently have 3 existing radars installed at the East Liberty of the Transportation Research Center, 1 in Marysville, and then 1 at the OSU Airport in Dublin, or Columbus. So those radars are there so we can perform beyond line of sight operations in cooperation with all of our other partners that are on that project. For unmanned aircraft to fly beyond line of sight along that corridor up to 2,000 feet and make sure that we're not crashing into other aircraft at the same time. So this is examples of the radar coverages at those 3 locations, and to give you guys an idea of the corridor. The corridor's 35 miles long. Again, we talked about SkyVision, and SkyVision manages that airspace from 1,000 feet to 10,000 feet. It takes in existing FAA radar feeds and is a unique asset to the state of Ohio, offering true beyond line of sight capabilities. There are other detection and sense and avoid systems out there, but none are as capable as the SkyVision asset that we have sitting at the Springfield Municipal Airport. So this gives you just a basic idea of what we see as far as the radar coverages in the area. It takes in those 3 radar feeds and fuses those together to give us a very defined picture of the airspace, so we can provide those deconfliction services for anybody who might want to use that asset. That yellow polygon is the area that our partners, Air Force Research Labs, has their beyond line of sight certificate of authorization with the FAA, that we're able to provide the assurance with the use of that asset that we can fly without anybody in the aircraft within the 200 square mile area. I talked a lot about the I-71 corridor, and this slide is depicting that, and this is our major focus for FlyOhio moving into the future. We are looking at technologies of different radar types, trying to assess what kind of resolution, what kind of business use cases there will be, then providing that in proper infrastructure to the FAA to assure that these activities will take place, connecting Cincinnati, Columbus, and Cleveland together. And you're going to be hearing probably a lot about this in the next year as far as our developments pushing this corridor forward. I do want to put a shout out to the Ohio Federal Research Network, because Bob threatened me if I didn't, I was going to get in trouble. But there's his contact information, and he's going to be up in a later panel, so I won't spend too much time. But you know, as part of FlyOhio, this is the key of part of FlyOhio, is our collaboration amongst each other to share those resources and to get everybody on the same page of what we're trying to do as the state of Ohio. And I can't mention how much help that Bob and the Ohio Federal Research Network has given us in moving these efforts forward. One example of that is a contingency management platform that we'll be using in both the UTM corridor as well as SkyVision to help us manage contingency issues like weather and GPS outage and radar issues. We'll have that feedback as far as what the health is of those systems, and how we can plan for that. And it adds to our safety case to the FAA, particularly if we extend this to the I-71 corridor, that we will be able to operate with some assurance, that GPS goes out, that we won't know about it, and an aircraft crashes, or we have micro weather issues that will cause problems to some of the smaller platforms because they're not as weather capable. But that's one of the areas that the Ohio Federal Research Network is helping us out with. I have to put a shout out to JobsOhio, so none of this could happen without JobsOhio, and I steal a lot of their slides, and this is one of them I stole too. And as well as the Dayton Development Coalition, who works with JobsOhio. They are our economic development arm, so a lot of if there's an economic development piece, because I'm from ODOT and I do the infrastructure, economic development, I'll always pass off to JobsOhio as well as the Dayton Development Coalition to help us out with that, and they've been really strong partners in the FlyOhio Initiative. And with that, I'm hoping I didn't go over time or I wasn't too short. But I'd like to thank everybody for being here. George, especially you. The amount of work you've done to put together this symposium has just been amazing, and the turnout is excellent. I'm super happy to be here.